Welcome, weary traveler, to a timeless chamber where the echoes of history gently unfold. Close your eyes, let your thoughts drift, and allow the whispers of the past to guide you through narratives both grand and intimate. Tales not always found in textbooks, yet rich with the essence of human experience. Imagine a beacon of knowledge, the Library of Alexandria, not just a building, but a living, breathing testament to human curiosity. We often dwell on its tragic demise, but let us first consider its golden age. Imagine scrolls upon scrolls, containing the collected wisdom of the ancient world, not just philosophy and science, but also the mundane records of daily life, lost languages, and forgotten poems. What if its destruction wasn't a single fiery catastrophe, but a slow, agonizing decline, a gradual erosion of its treasures by neglect, political upheaval, and the shifting tides of power? Perhaps some of its most precious texts simply faded, crumbled, or were repurposed for less noble ends, their knowledge seeping into the sands of time like water through a sieve. Now, let's fast forward through centuries to the quiet, hallowed halls of medieval monasteries. Here, under the flickering candlelight of the scriptorium, labored the unsung heroes of literacy, the scribes. We often picture them as solemn, devout figures, meticulously copying sacred texts. And indeed, their work was arduous, demanding incredible patience and skill. But their lives weren't always filled with pious silence. Imagine the tiny, whimsical doodles they'd sometimes sneak into the margins of those very sacred texts. A playful rabbit chasing a snail, a knight battling an oversized dragon, or perhaps even a humorous, slightly unflattering self-portrait of a tired scribe. These marginalia weren't just idle whims or acts of rebellion. They were glimpses into the irrepressible human spirit, a testament to the need for levity and connection, even in the most devout and disciplined environments. These small, often overlooked drawings tell us that even in an age dominated by grand religious narratives, the personal touch, the quiet joke, and the subtle expression of individuality endured. They are like secret smiles across the centuries, reminding us of the human heart beating beneath the robes of history. From the solemnity of monasteries, we travel to the peculiar, almost absurd, chapter of the Great Emu War of Australia in 1932. Try to picture this scene. It's the aftermath of World War I. Soldiers are returning home, and they are met not by a foreign power, but by an unexpected, feathered foe, thousands upon thousands of large, flightless birds, emus. These emus, driven by drought, were wreaking havoc on the wheat crops of desperate farmers in Western Australia. The situation became so dire that the Australian government, in an act of baffling practicality, decided to deploy military forces, complete with machine guns, against these avian adversaries. Imagine the sight: seasoned soldiers, trained for human warfare, now attempting to fight a highly mobile, unpredictable enemy that simply wouldn't cooperate with military tactics. The outcome: a surprising, almost comedic, defeat for the humans. The emus proved to be incredibly agile, fast, and remarkably difficult targets. They would scatter at the first sign of trouble, only to regroup elsewhere with unsettling effectiveness. It's a whimsical yet deeply humbling reminder that sometimes the most formidable opponents are the ones you least expect, and that nature, in its infinite wisdom and strange resilience, often has the last, perplexing laugh. Consider something as fundamental as color. Throughout history, the quest for vibrant pigments has driven exploration, trade, and even warfare. Imagine the preciousness of Tyrian purple, derived from thousands of tiny sea snails, a color so rare and difficult to produce that only royalty and the very wealthy could afford it. To wear Tyrian purple was to declare your status, a visual display of immense power. Then there was ultramarine, the most brilliant blue, ground from the precious gemstone lapis lazuli, found only in the distant mountains of Afghanistan. It was more valuable than gold, reserved for painting the robes of the Virgin Mary in Renaissance art. symbolizing divinity and truth. Painters had to use it sparingly, often reserving it for the most important elements of their work. Think of the intense labor, the perilous journeys, and the sheer value attached to these colors. They weren't just dyes. They were stories of human ingenuity, global trade, and the enduring desire to bring beauty and meaning to our world. The very hues that surround us today carry echoes of ancient struggles and extraordinary efforts. The Victorian era, an age of grand empires and rapid industrialization, was also a time of fervent exploration. But these explorers were not always the stoic, rugged individuals we might imagine. Many were eccentric, driven by an insatiable curiosity, a desire for fame, or simply a profound restlessness. Imagine a figure like Isabella Bird, a Victorian lady who, despite suffering from chronic illness, traveled the world alone, riding horses through the Rocky Mountains, ascending volcanoes in Hawaii, and navigating the wild landscapes of Japan. Or consider Richard Francis Burton, a man of extraordinary intellect and linguistic prowess, who mastered dozens of languages and famously explored disguised as a Muslim pilgrim. These individuals defied the rigid social conventions of their time, driven by an inner fire that pushed them far beyond the comforts of home. Their journeys were often fraught with peril, but they returned with tales of distant lands, new species, and a broader understanding of the world, quietly shaping our perception of geography and culture, one adventurous step at a time. If you could close your eyes and truly listen to an ancient city, what would you hear? Beyond the grand pronouncements of emperors and the clash of swords, there would be a symphony of everyday life. Imagine the rhythmic clang of the blacksmith's hammer, the distant bleating of sheep being herded through narrow streets, the murmuring of conversations in unfamiliar tongues. Hear the shouts of merchants hawking their wares, fresh bread, exotic spices, the catch of the day. Listen for the creak of wooden cart wheels over cobblestones, the splash of water from a public fountain, children's laughter echoing through courtyards, and perhaps the faint, reedy sound of a street musician's pipe. At night, the sounds would shift, the hoot of an owl, the rustle of rats in the shadows, the distant howl of a dog, and the soft, steady breathing of a city at rest. These everyday sounds, often lost in the grand narratives of history, are the true heartbeat of the past, connecting us intimately to the lives of those who walked these streets millennia ago, reminding us that their world, though different, was filled with the same vibrant, chaotic symphony of human existence. The Silk Road, a network of trade routes spanning thousands of miles, is often romanticized for its exotic goods, silks, spices, and precious stones. But what about the unsung heroes who actually traversed these treacherous paths? Imagine the camel drivers, enduring blistering deserts and freezing mountain passes, their faces weathered by sun and wind. Picture the local guides, leading caravans through unfamiliar territories, their knowledge of water sources and safe passages invaluable. Consider the ordinary merchants, not kings or emperors, but humble traders carrying their wares from east to west, sharing stories, exchanging ideas, and inadvertently spreading religions, technologies, and even diseases. They formed temporary communities at caravanserai, sharing meals, gossip, and the quiet anxieties of a long journey. Their lives were harsh, often dangerous, but they were the threads that wove together vast civilizations, creating a tapestry of interconnectedness that shaped the world long before the age of ships and airplanes. Their quiet determination laid the groundwork for a truly globalized world. Forget what you think you know about Roman feasts. They weren't just about excessive consumption. They were an elaborate art form, a display of wealth, status, and culinary creativity. Imagine not just the food, but the theatricality. Think of dishes designed to surprise and amuse. A roasted pig stuffed with live birds that would fly out when carved, or a fish presented with a silver helmet and miniature sword. The wine was often flavored with exotic spices, honey, or even seawater. But beyond the spectacle, there was also a strict social hierarchy. Guests would recline on couches, their positions carefully dictated by their social standing. The conversation would be as important as the food, with poets reciting verses and philosophers engaging in debate. It was a multi-sensory experience designed to impress, entertain, and reinforce social bonds. These elaborate dinners tell us much about Roman society, their values, their excesses, and their profound appreciation for both the aesthetic and the extravagant. Let's journey to 17th century Holland, a time when a simple flower, the tulip, ignited a bizarre economic frenzy known as tulip mania. Imagine a single tulip bulb, no different from those in your garden, becoming so valuable that it could be traded for houses, land, or even entire estates. People mortgaged their futures, sold their businesses, and invested every last penny in these colorful bulbs, believing the price would continue to soar indefinitely. Rare varieties, especially those with striking broken patterns caused by a virus, became the most sought after. Futures contracts were traded, with people buying and selling bulbs they didn't even possess. And then, as all bubbles do, it burst. The market collapsed, leaving thousands bankrupt and disillusioned. It's a fascinating, cautionary tale about human psychology, speculative bubbles, and the intoxicating allure of quick riches, reminding us that sometimes the greatest dangers lie not in physical threats, but in the collective illusions we create for ourselves. We know Leonardo da Vinci as a master painter, but his true genius lay in his notebooks. Imagine hundreds of pages, filled not just with sketches for paintings, but with an astonishing array of observations, inventions, and ideas, often written in his characteristic mirror script. He sketched flying machines centuries before the airplane, designed sophisticated war machines, studied human anatomy with incredible precision, and pondered the flow of water with the intensity of a modern physicist. These notebooks were his private universe, a boundless realm of curiosity where art and science intertwine seamlessly. They reveal a mind constantly questioning, observing, and theorizing, a true Renaissance man whose imagination soared far beyond the limitations of his era. Even his grocery lists, scribbled amidst engineering diagrams, offer a glimpse into the mundane life of this extraordinary genius, reminding us that brilliance often coexists with the simplest routines. Step into the 18th century, specifically the Rococo era, a period of delightful, almost whimsical, excess in European fashion. Imagine not just elaborate gowns and powdered wigs, but entire landscapes built into hairstyles, complete with miniature ships, birds, and even garden scenes. Hair was piled so high it sometimes required a ladder to construct. Clothes were adorned with cascades of lace, ribbons, and floral embroidery, designed to create an illusion of lightness and playful extravagance. Men wore highly embroidered coats, silk waistcoats, and breeches, often with intricate ruffles and bows. Cosmetics were heavy, with pale faces and rouged cheeks being the norm. This wasn't just about looking good. It was about theatricality, a joyful escape into fantasy, a deliberate rejection of the formality of earlier periods. These fashions, while seemingly frivolous, reveal a society delighting in pleasure, artifice, and the sheer joy of visual expression, a vibrant, if fleeting, moment in history. In the annals of medical history, there are many peculiar cases, but consider the story of the colorblind chemist John Dalton in the late 18th century. Dalton, a brilliant scientist, famously couldn't tell the difference between red and green. What's truly fascinating is that he initially thought it was a problem with his eyes' fluid, or perhaps just his own perception. It wasn't until after his death, when his eyes were examined, that the true nature of what we now call color blindness was understood. His personal experience with this visual anomaly led him to conduct the first ever scientific study of color blindness. He even left instructions that his eyes be examined after his death, hoping to uncover the physical cause. His curiosity, born from a personal peculiarity, opened up an entire field of scientific inquiry, helping us understand the intricate ways in which our senses interact with the world and how what is normal for one person might be entirely different for another. The Dutch East India Company, founded in 1602, was not just a trading enterprise. It was arguably the world's first true multinational corporation, a powerful entity that profoundly shaped global trade and colonization. Imagine a private company, not a government, possessing its own army, navy, and even the power to negotiate treaties and establish colonies. It controlled vast trade routes from Europe to Asia, dealing in spices, textiles, and other precious goods. Its influence was immense, establishing trading posts, fighting wars, and even minting its own coins. While it brought immense wealth to the Netherlands, it also left a complex legacy of exploitation and violence in the regions it controlled. The company's story is a powerful illustration of the early forces of globalization, demonstrating how economic ambition could lead to unprecedented power and reshape the political and cultural landscape of the entire world, laying the groundwork for the interconnected world we inhabit today. Before the widespread adoption of railways, every town had its own local time, determined by the sun's highest point. Imagine the chaos this created when trains began to crisscross continents. A train departing noon from one city would arrive in another at a different noon, leading to missed connections, scheduling nightmares, and even collisions. The need for a standardized system became undeniable. Thus, the invention of standard time was born, a direct consequence of the railway's demand for efficiency and safety. Zones were established, dividing the world into uniform time segments. This quiet, often overlooked innovation fundamentally changed our perception of time itself, moving it from a local, natural phenomenon to a synchronized, global construct. It allowed for complex schedules, efficient travel, and the smooth functioning of modern society, a subtle but profound shift in the rhythm of human life. History is often told through the voices of powerful men, but if we listen closely, we can hear the forgotten voices of ancient women. Imagine not just empresses and goddesses, but the ordinary women who managed households, ran businesses, practiced medicine, wrote poetry, and participated in religious rituals. In ancient Egypt, women held property rights, could initiate divorce, and even serve as pharaohs. In some Roman homes, women managed the family finances and exerted significant influence. While their lives were often circumscribed by societal norms, their resilience, ingenuity, and contributions were vital to the fabric of ancient societies. Think of the textile workers, the priestesses, the midwives, the mothers who shaped the next generation. Though their stories are harder to unearth, fragments of their lives, in letters, legal documents, and archaeological finds, paint a picture of quiet strength, enduring love, and profound impact, reminding us that history is made not just by the famous, but by the everyday lives of countless individuals. The Renaissance is often associated with grand art and scientific breakthroughs, but at its heart was a movement known as humanism. These were scholars and thinkers who, rather than solely focusing on religious texts, turned their attention back to the classical wisdom of ancient Greece and Rome. Imagine them poring over forgotten manuscripts, dusty and brittle, meticulously copying and translating them. They rediscovered ancient philosophies, rhetoric, and literature, believing that studying these works could foster virtue and wisdom. This wasn't an anti-religious movement, but a re-emphasis on human potential, the value of education, and the pursuit of knowledge for its own sake. They believed that studying the past could illuminate the present and guide the future. Their quiet dedication to ancient texts ignited a cultural revolution, fundamentally shifting the way people thought about themselves, their world, and their place within the vast tapestry of human history. Finally, let us conclude our journey with a gentle reminder of the serendipitous nature of discovery. Alexander Fleming's accidental discovery of penicillin in 1928 is a classic tale of unexpected breakthroughs. His laboratory, like many at the time, was notoriously untidy. It was this very untidiness that, surprisingly, led to his revolutionary insight. Imagine a forgotten petri dish, left open near a window, inadvertently contaminated with mold. Instead of simply discarding it, Fleming observed something remarkable. The mold, a common penicillium fungus, had created a clear, bacteria-free zone around itself, preventing the growth of the surrounding Staphylococcus bacteria. This lucky oversight, born from a messy lab and a curious mind, led to the development of the world's first antibiotic. It fundamentally changed medicine, saving countless lives and altering the course of human health forever. It's a testament to the power of keen observation, even in the midst of chaos, and a beautiful illustration of how sometimes the greatest discoveries are found not through deliberate search, but through unexpected chance. A quiet whisper from the universe guiding us forward. As these echoes fade into the quiet, may your mind find peace in the vast and intricate tapestry of time. Rest now, and let the gentle currents of history carry you into a peaceful slumber. Good night.